Hello and welcome. Today's project is all about life after anxiety. Not just for me, because I suffered from an extreme anxiety disorder before, but I want to talk about what I see in my clients, because here's the thing about going through anxiety is that things actually get worse before it gets better. What that means is that when you go through recovery, you have to come to the realization that your situation is pretty rough. You have a lot to untangle. You have years of things to unravel, whether they are revolving around your family or certain moments from your past or your current habits and routines and rituals. You have to unravel all of these webs in your life, and of course it's going to get worse because confronting all of your inadequacies, that is no joke, and that is very, very startling. And then when you go through recovery, you also say to yourself, well, I want this gone right now. I want this pain gone right now. I want peace right now. I want meditation to work for me right now. I want the habit Brad told me to do to work for me right now. Everything has to be perfect. But then as you go through this journey, and I talk about this with my clients, they see that the path is not linear and they have to accept that this will take time. And so acceptance is a big part of this whole journey, and slowing down the pace, because I had this idea that this pain and suffering is going to end next week or like today even, and then I'm going to be free and then I can move on. But then I started to say, move on to what? Am I going to go back to my old ways? And I was like, I can't, because that's what was causing my anxiety in the first place, living the way that I was living. I was living in unconsciousness, and that's also the other thing about recovery, is that you move into this self-consciousness. You're more conscious of your situation, and thus you can't go back into unconsciousness. That is major. So you realize that you have a lot of stacked baggage that you need to get rid of, but then you also notice that the reality of your life is very unpleasant, because what you need to do, man, that's an uphill battle. Maybe quitting caffeine is my next step, or maybe this is my next step in traversing this landscape is no joke. But you have to be so aware of yourself and your micro routines, and thus how can you go back into unconsciousness at this point, right? Unconsciousness is what brought you into suffering in the first place. We see this in Groundhog Day. Phil, played by Bill Murray, he's living the same day over and over and over again, like most of us in society today. And he keeps stepping into the same potholes literally every day. Like, he steps into the water and he's like, oh my God, like this sucks. And like everything just seems to be working against him. But then he starts to pay attention of every single micro routine that he is engaging in every day. And then he starts to shift. The more self-conscious he becomes, the less he's stepping into potholes. But then he also realizes, man, I have so much work to do with myself and my situation. It's so much. But then once you start to add structure and improve every little micro routine, you can then avoid that one pothole, and then at least your day's 1% better, right? And that's what he does in the movie, right? He notices the pothole and then he jumps over it, and then, just from that alone, his day is 1% better. Like, he has more control over his circumstance than he actually thinks. And so that's part of it too. But you could say that the reason why you're suffering so deeply is because your body is screaming out to you that things need to change, and it won't stop screaming until you make the right sacrifices in your life. Maybe giving up a certain food will help you. Maybe giving up a certain toxic relationship or a certain habit, or sacrificing sleeping in to waking up earlier, and then taking care of yourself in the morning through a meditation ritual or a journaling ritual. There are always sacrifices to be made, and we see in the Cain and Abel story, Cain is not making significant sacrifices, and they're not sufficient enough for God to favor him in the way that he wants to be favored like Abel is. And we see Abel, he's making sacrifice that is of high quality and of high value. And so look towards your own micro routines, because that is your best bet going forward. Now, then when you're doing all of this, you start to realize that you're breaking away from the pack. You're breaking away from the structure of your family. You're breaking away from the structure of your friends. And then it makes you feel like an outcast in some sense. But really, the normal way to be in society is very unconscious, right? Society and many of the organizations out there, they want you to be unconscious so that you buy their product. So that, hey, the best way to relieve your pain and suffering is to smoke weed, or to drink alcohol, or to buy this Big Mac, or to buy this product or that product. But it's all making you dependent, right? The real way to real independence is to break yourself away from that and start to live a very minimal but disciplined lifestyle, because part of that discipline is healing as well. And then when you're doing all of this, emotions come up. I see it with my clients all the damn time. When they're going on this journey, they have to come into contact with these emotions that have been repressed for so long. And it starts to come up in different ways. Even when they're watching a movie with their partner, emotions come up. Or when they're sitting with themselves in the evening, emotions come up. They're more in tune because they are not constantly distracting themselves with those video games or with the weed or the alcohol. And so for me, in my life, I am more comfortable and confident in my own skin because I've dealt with many uncomfortable situations on my own, and I overcame them on my own. And so I am more confident that whatever comes my way, I can handle. So then I also became my own problem solver rather than relying and leaning on my family for reassurance, or Dr. Google, or drugs, alcohol, and toxic relationships. I'm certain of the habits that I can lean on to resolve my emotional disruptions that accumulate throughout life, that comes up on a daily basis. And then I treat myself like I am someone I genuinely care about. So I'll take hot baths at night, I'll give back to myself, I'll do stretching, I'll get some exercise, I'll drink some nice teas. I won't indulge in sugar or junk food, processed food, or fast food, none of that. I make my own food and I eat very minimally, but also very strictly as well. And I am very appreciative of the fruits life has to offer. I do like to play a video game once in a while, or watch a movie once in a while. But I'll tell you something, the quality of the movie is way more enhanced than it used to be. Because if I'm watching movies all day long, then you just become so desensitized to it. You don't appreciate it. You kind of feel restless, irritable, because that's your body screaming out to you, hey man, maybe you should get away from this and get some exercise, or all of this tension needs to be released in some manner. So that's also part of the process, is that you develop all of these strategies and tools to release this built up energy so that you can start to feel grounded and at peace, right? And then the quality of the relationships around you enhances, and then the fruits of life enhance as well. And then lastly, like I already said, I have more trust in my body. So wherever I go, I know that I can rely on myself to get through difficult times, because I've stacked all of these wins. So throughout my life, I'll tell you something before I close this video. I used to avoid situations because I was feeling ill, or I had a headache, or I was feeling nauseated. I wouldn't do it. I would stay home, and my parents helped facilitate that as well, right? And then when you do that, you shrink your competence, because you don't know how much you can tolerate even when you're feeling really bad. So when I have a bad day, even today, like I'll have a bad day, but I still know, hey, if I stack wins up in the morning, I take that cold shower, maybe extra cold this morning, or if I meditate a little bit longer, or if I journal more today, and I stack these wins, then the day doesn't feel as dreadful. But also by the end of the day, I feel like I've won this ginormous battle that seemed like I couldn't win when I first woke up in the morning. So that is huge. Show yourself that your body is capable of way more than it seems. And that's part of this journey as well, because you have so much potential within you. There's this ginormous part of the iceberg that you haven't come to realize yet about yourself, that you need to start to explore, because I know you can do more than you think you can. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. Thank you so much, everybody, for your comments. I want to know your story and where you are at in recovery. Make sure you follow the podcast. It's available anywhere you listen to podcasts. And remember to rise above anxiety. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now. Make sure to leave your comments below. Subscribe so that you'll be the first to know whenever I release a new video, and rise above anxiety. I'll see you next time.